Welcome to Country Kickback, where you'll hear the latest music from performers you already know and discover new music and artists from around the world. If you have an artist you'd like us to chat with, reach out to the team at countrykickback.com, or you can watch our live videos and more by following us on social media and YouTube. Here is your host, Danni Shaw, with the latest from Country Kickback.
Hello. Shaz, you are so quick. You beat me into the room this time. Thank you for joining again tonight. I know we've been doing a lot of shows lately and you guys have all been joining in, and it's just lovely to see. And I hope that you've all heard some music that you hadn't heard before, or some other music that you hadn't thought of for a while. So I hope that you guys have been enjoying the different artists that we've had on. Before we start tonight's show, I did pop in it's pinned to the top of the Facebook page, but I will pop it onto the Instagram page later. I'll message Scott and he might help me. There's a competition it is a Tasmanian competition, but if you are in Tassie or can get down to Tassie on the 4th of March, there's 2 tickets to give away for Troy Casadei, and he's coming to Hobart at 7 o'clock, 4th of March at the Hobart Theatre, I think. It's all in the pin, so have a look. If you can enter, it's very easy. Tag someone you want to take. Make sure you've liked the Country Kickback page, and let us know who you want to take. And if there's somebody that you might think down here that would want to enter the competition, tag them in it so they know it's there. And if you can get down here, there are still some tickets available, so if you do want to come, you can still buy them. There's not many, but you can buy them at the moment. We have got Ben very, very patiently waiting in the room. We've got Ben Walker joining us tonight. We want to talk about his EP and what he's got planned for the rest of the year. So we might welcome him into the room. Hello.
Hey, Danni, how are you?
I'm good. This is the first time we've had you on the show. So welcome to Country Kickback. Thank you for braving us.
Thank you.
I was saying to you before, you're in Sydney at the moment, and was saying about the awesome background that you've got there in the studio. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, I'm at my vocal coach's studio tonight, Lee McRae. I've been working with Lee for a couple of years now, if not longer. It's always nice when I'm down here on a Tuesday with all the album covers and everything. It's a great vibe.
Yeah, it's lovely. It'd make you feel, you're seeing all the old covers and you feel very emotional going through all the different things, I imagine.
Yeah, well, the whole thing, just setting up to talk to you tonight, because when a lot of the songs that I've written for the EP, the first time I'll try them out will be with Lee down here. So a lot of the songs are kind of born down here. So it's a good place to do the interview.
It feels good, a good place to hear it and find out your story. People can, I didn't actually get to explain this to you before, but people can put comments and ask questions in the comments as we go tonight. So Shaz has popped in and she said hi. Let us know if you're watching, where you are, and have you heard Ben's music before? And if you have, tell us what song you really liked. Now, I haven't had you on the show before, and we are here to talk about your EP, but can you tell us a bit about your background and why you got into music, and what's made you go down this country path?
Sure. Well, it's a long old story. So originally born in the UK. We've lived out in Australia now since 2009. But a bit of a winding journey to get here. I've lived in Switzerland. I've lived in different parts of the UK. I've worked all over. Ultimately ended up in Australia because my wife told me that we were moving to Australia. So I said yes. In terms of music, at school in the UK, to take up a musical instrument, you had to pass a test, and I took the test and I passed the test, and this is me aged probably 8, 9 maybe, ever so excited, sitting outside the headmaster's office, and he came out with a music teacher. All the children that are here have passed the music test. What instrument do you want to play? We'll start with you, Ben. Guitar. we don't have a guitar teacher this year. What instrument do you want to play?
Yes, they don't.
Guitar. And it went on a little bit like this. Eventually, in their wisdom, they decided to give me a cello.
Okay.
And yeah, that didn't go so great. And I think I enjoyed the cello to the extent that every time I could put it on the side and pretend it was a guitar, it was great. But
Yeah.
it meant I wasn't doing soccer practice, and I wasn't with my friends, and I wasn't playing the instrument I wanted to play. So I kind of drifted away. Unbeknownst to me, the music teachers were talking to my parents saying, don't let him stop. He's really good at this. I kind of didn't know that, and got into my head that I loved music, but maybe I just couldn't play it. And at university, I got in with a lovely group of friends who were all very musical. And so I did some roadieing for them and some sound engineering, but never sort of got back into the music. And then around about my 40th birthday, so 5 or so years ago, probably fed up of hearing this story, my wife got me guitar lessons, and so off I went to guitar lessons. And first or second lesson, the tutor said to me, it would really help with the rhythm if you sing along as you play. And I said, I can't sing. Try. So we were playing a song, and I started singing, and he stopped me, and I thought he was going to say, okay, maybe you just need to hum. And he said, well, I'm just stopping you to let you know that you can sing, and you can sing really well. Although I joke about it now, but that was huge, and that built my confidence. Within a year, I was writing my own music, I was performing, and it built from there. As I got more and more into the music, and at the same time, work life at the time was pretty pressured. And again, my wife plays a huge part in this story. A few years later, she said, look, we're not seeing much of you as a family. We've got 2 young children. Why don't you stop what you're doing and do something you really want to? Because you've given us so much with everything, how hard you work. Actually, it's time for you to do what you really want. And I left full-time work. I did a music course at TAFE. I was obviously writing an awful lot then. I then got into a music degree at the Australian Institute of Music, and through all of that, with Lee's help, then the recording came, and here I am now, having released the EP that I never ever thought I would even tell anyone about the dream. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
5 years ago, you didn't. Doesn't sound like 5 years ago you thought you'd be here right now. So that's pretty. It's pretty special.
Yeah, I always wanted to release an EP or album, and but it was I didn't even admit to people that that was a part of me, because I didn't think it could be. So,
wow,
nice.
What do your kids and your wife think of it now? What are they saying to you?
Well, they might be listening, so they might challenge me with their own comment. I don't know, but they are so supportive. My wife gives me the confidence to keep going. The kids love the fact that Dad does something that none of the other dads do. They get so excited when my songs are on the radio. The other day, my eldest Charlie, who's 8, he was sat down scribbling on a piece of paper. I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm writing a song." And it's so wonderful that that's normal for him. And so, they're great. They're biggest fans.
So they're going to be. It sounds like they're going to be musical too as they're growing and watching you.
Yeah, Charlie's in the school band playing tune percussion, and Harry's only 5, so there's not an instrument that Harry doesn't think he can play at the moment.
Well, he probably can play them better than me, so we'll go. We won't give him too hard to go. So you have just released your EP, but you released Castles, which is on that EP, before the release this year.
Yes.
Tell us how you were going releasing Castles, knowing that was the lead up to the EP. What was your nerves like, and what response did you get from people releasing that song?
Yeah, so I released 3 singles in 2020. I recorded Smiles with Michael Carpenter, who's now doing very well across the country scene. And then I started working with a producer called Thomas Keating, who I met at Australian Institute. And he was wonderful in terms of helping me to develop my sound.
Yes.
And at the start of last year, we sat down and said, look, okay, the singles went quite well. Let's look at an EP. And very quickly realized I had most of the material. So, but it took us a long time with COVID, with
Yes.
he was very selfish. He went and got married. These things got in the,
Yeah.
I know. These things all got in the way, in the way. And so by the time we got to release Castles, it had been almost a year of project. And so the week leading up to the release of anything, I'm a nervous wreck, because it's like sending your babies out into the world for other people to comment on, and it's really tough. But prior to that, it was I actually want to get the project finished, and so there was a lot of sort of desire to do that. And Castles went brilliantly. I couldn't have wished for a better first song. The country stations all started picking it up, which we weren't really sure they would. And through that, I got 5 small shows at Tamworth. So that was a huge boost then going into the EP release.
Very exciting. And I guess it's interesting. I'm glad you brought Smiles up, because I was going to say to you, it's a very different sound, and it makes sense now, because I really liked Smiles, but I like all the songs on the EP, but I really like Time to Go. There's something about that just really sat well. Tell us, you've been obviously writing for a while in these few years, and there's been COVID that's impacted and people going and getting married. Have you had all of this written for a while? Were you, or have you sort of been just finishing up just before the last 1 or 2 before you released?
So most of them were written for quite a long time. So Castles was actually written around the time that I left work and started the whole journey into music. And because it was such a familiar song, I almost wasn't going to release it as a single. But when I started with this concept for an EP, of the EP is going to be about my journey through music and what music means to me, it kind of had to be on there. Time to Go, I wrote, that was one of the later songs that I wrote. And I wrote that just as I was starting to look at getting back into work again. And so I was doing what I really loved and wanted to do, but it wasn't practical to just do music full time.
Yes.
And I started to write down on a piece of paper the sort of emotions and the pulls in different directions. And I had this realization that they were exactly the same feelings and emotions I had when I first met my wife. And I lived in London, she lived in Bristol. For anyone who doesn't know the UK, it's a couple of hours drive, which prior to moving to Australia, I thought that was a long drive. now I realise that's just down the road.
Well, I'm from Tasmania, so for us that's a long way.
Okay, you're with me. And I started to really think about that feeling of a relationship that's really important, but there's a long distance, and it's whenever you get together, you always know in the back of your mind that actually you've only got a certain number of hours, the weekend, whatever it might be. And it fitted so well with how I was feeling about, actually, I don't want to do anything other than music, but actually I've got family to support, etc. So that's where that song came from. And the others, so most of them were written by the time we started recording. There was, I think, Funfair I was still finishing off, but yeah, and now I've started on writing on songs which will either be another EP or an album. So yeah, lots of material.
We've got lots coming up. Now, I know, you were saying you're going to head to Tamworth and things. Are you heading to Tamworth in April?
Should be, yes. I'm waiting to get confirmation on the shows, which I'm told will happen anytime now. So eagerly awaiting that confirmation. But yeah, planning to head up to Tamworth. Prior to that, I'm playing an hour set at Lazy Bones Lounge in Sydney on the 20th of March. That's supporting a musician called Marianne, and there's another musician on the bill as well called Pajama Sam. So that's going to be really cool. Some really different sounds from the three of us. So that's coming up too.
So do people need to get tickets for that show? Is that a ticketed?
Yeah, that's a ticketed show. There's a link to that on my Ben Walker Music Facebook channel, and I will put up the link on Instagram as well in the next day or so.
Wonderful. And is it Ben Walker Music on Instagram or just Ben Walker?
Ben Walker Music Official on Instagram. But yeah, Ben Walker Music on Facebook.
Now, I always pop our YouTube link, the Country Kickback YouTube link, for everyone to subscribe to at the top, but I couldn't find a Ben Walker YouTube link. Do you have one at the moment, or is that?
I do. I think the way YouTube works, I might even have two, but I have one
topic where YouTube thing. Yeah. So I knew that wasn't yours, and I couldn't find it. So I might get you when we're finished. If you can share the link, I can pop that in the comments as well for that one.
I absolutely will. And there's a video that I did in there for one of my earlier songs, Playing Alone. So it's quite a cool video there.
That would be good, because I was looking for videos and nothing was coming up, and I thought, maybe they're not on YouTube, maybe they're somewhere else. And there's so many platforms that artists can put their things in. I thought, maybe it's something that I'm not logged into. I don't know, but I can find you on Spotify, I can find you everywhere else, but I couldn't find your specific. I could find the YouTube, which is topic next to it, which is the YouTube sort of, I don't know what they do. It's like they share it somehow, and it's not actually the artist page, but I couldn't find your personal one.
I'll share that for you.
I think YouTube like to do that too. It's a bit like Facebook. They try and only let us see certain things. We have to keep finding ways around. So you're heading, you've got a show coming up before Tamworth, and hopefully you're heading to Tamworth in April, which is really not that far away. No. What are your plans for the rest of 2022? You've obviously got some more songs there that you're ready to record. Are you going to head out on the road after? And you're working still, so that will be hard to fit in. But
yes, yes. And I work very hard. I think my boss might even be on might be watching this. So I work incredibly hard. Let's get that in. So after, exactly. So after Tamworth, well, in the last couple of weeks, I got some unsettling news in that Tom Keating, who has been producing for me, he moved to Melbourne. So we'll still do some recording together, but it's made it harder for him to actually do live shows with me. Yes. And then completely out of the blue, a guy who I met at TAFE, who actually is a good friend of my vocal coach, a guy called Frank Burgo, has come on board to play guitar for me or with me at my shows. So we are sort of practicing hard, and he's learning all of my material. So once we do the Lazy Bones show and then the shows at Tamworth, we're hoping then to start doing a few more shows around Sydney and maybe a little bit wider than that. So that's a big focus for this year, with hopefully things opening up and getting some audience interaction and some live shows.
especially, you know, as you've said, you know, you've only really very recently started out in music, and then halfway through that COVID's hit, and it hasn't been the best start for you, and yet you're still managing to get quite a bit of content out. So you're doing very well to get through all of that and still be able to give us music for your very start of the career.
And as you may have noticed, I do like to talk. Tom tells me I could talk underwater, and so being in front of an audience and being able to talk a little bit about the songs and where they came from and what they mean, and then getting that interaction and feedback, I absolutely love that. So yeah, really excited to be able to do a bit more of that.
And I was actually going to know that I keep saying to everybody that our shows, we try and keep them to 20 minutes because we want to put them out to radio as well. I'm not very good at that because I'm good at talking like you. It should definitely be on my resume. But I want to know the songs on the EP, and it probably changes for you all the time, but do you have a favourite of the songs on the EP at the moment? What's your favourite to play at the moment?
Probably right now it would be Choosing Her. Which almost didn't make the EP because it's a slightly different song to the others, and it's about trying to do everything to recover from an argument, to make up with somebody, and they just don't want to know. They're choosing a different path, and it's originally when I wrote it, as I say, I didn't think it would make the EP. Then I started singing and doodling around with it in the studio with Tom, and it just sat really naturally. But with him playing the guitar and us sort of feeding off each other, and that's the version that's come onto the EP. But now I'm playing a lot more solo, and it just works really well, and getting an awful lot of joy out of playing it.
And writing that song, how did you go with that? Was that a hard one to write, or did that also just sort of flow naturally?
It was an interesting one to write for a couple of reasons. It was sort of driven by a conversation with a friend who was going through quite a tough time, so kind of felt like I was writing it a bit for them and in their corner, so that was quite nice. I was also at the time when I was just poring over lots of old Beatles songs, and so I was playing around with that sort of yesterday song construction when they repeat a verse later on in the song. And so there was a little bit of I'm doing this for someone. There was a little bit of it being sort of an exploration.
Yes.
And so, yeah, just a lot of fun, but lots of different emotions going on at the same time.
I actually really like that whole when you repeat a verse in a song. There's something that it really stands out because it's not such a common thing. And I don't know, there's something about that just stands out to me, and it usually grabs me in, and I'm like, oh, I want to play that again. I need to hear that again because I want to hear, you know, you hear so many different things, and then it fits back into another go. It's just, I like that. It's good fun.
Cool.
So I do love this EP. So yes, you've got more music coming. You're in the studio, still doing singing lessons. You're back working.
Yeah.
It's something that it doesn't sound like you're going to slow down. Now that you're in the industry, you're going to keep going.
That's absolutely my goal and ambition, and I've just been really lucky. I've got so many people helping me in different ways. A few years ago, we went back to the UK to see family over there. I borrowed a guitar from my parents' neighbour, and it turned out that was Steve McMillan, who runs a Nashville and London record label. He runs Southern Crossroads Records. He's been helping me. So many people doing so much. I have to keep going. And
isn't it funny how it all falls into place in this industry? You meet one person and then you meet another, and it just keeps on going. It's incredible. how you intertwine with people in this industry around the world.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It can be incredibly tough, and because the music is everyone's music is so personal, it can feel like it's a very emotional journey. But at the same time, there are so many people trying to help, and it's a real small world. And it's amazing how you meet one person and they pop up somewhere else.
Yeah, and then names start to become familiar. You think, I know that person. Where do I? It's just it's a big world, but it is a small industry, and everybody does sort of get to that point where they know each other, which is really cool. And I did want to ask you. You were saying, when you were at school and you were told that you couldn't have a guitar teacher, which is probably the most common instrument everywhere. That's so strange in itself, but. Do you think that if your kids were told that now, what would your advice be for somebody that put all those blocks up for you? Because that is a lot of blocks to get through to get to where you are now.
Well, funnily enough, so my eldest Charlie, he did his tryout for the band, and there were some instruments he wanted to play, and they came back to him and they said, "Oh, we think you'd be great on the flute," and he had no interest in the flute. And because of my background, again, my wife does all the hard jobs. She contacted the school and said, sort of really politely but firmly, "Look, Charlie does want to be in the band, but he doesn't want to play the flute, and he wants to do tune percussion, or he wants to do bass guitar," and that's what he's now doing. So I think don't take no for an answer. And also, if I could talk back to younger me, I'd say speak out a little bit more about what you wanted to do as well, because no one tried to stop me. It's just the way the circumstances worked out.
It's just how it played out, and always things play out for a reason, don't they? But to get into it now and to know all of the blocks that you've had, it makes it more special for you to be able to just keep going forward, and to know that your family are behind you. It's just a nice thing as well.
Yes.
Lovely. It's a lovely story. So before we go, tell us again where we can find you, where we can keep up to date with where you're traveling, new music. What's the best place to look?
So on Instagram is Ben Walker Music Official, and please follow. I do with some more followers. On Facebook, Ben Walker Music, and not so much to follow, but I will just mention for the EP, because we couldn't get out and do lots of shows, I put together a special website just on the EP, which is all of the stories behind the songs and a little bit on the journey we went through to put the EP together. So that's benwalkermusic.net.
Okay, we'll put that in the comments too when we're finished. Well, we pop the link in. Yes.
And then my main website is benwalkermusic.org.
And can people get a hard copy of the EP? Is there a hard copy?
There's CDs printed ready for Tamworth, and if people are in contact with me, we can definitely get those to people. And the EP design is beautiful.
Yes.
It's done by a lady called Penny Karankas. And she runs Penny L Designs, and so because we love the design so much, we got some t-shirts made up as well. So we got some t-shirts.
That was one of the things I was going to touch on, was the artwork, because it's quite in-depth artwork, but it's lovely. So did you have a lot of involvement in what you wanted, or did she sort of listen to the music and take from that and then create?
She has a really interesting process. So she asked me to send her the songs, which I did, and to write down the stories behind the songs. And then she came back, and first of all with a concept, and she said, "Look, I can see that you think really deeply, and the ideas you have turn into these songs. So I want to go with the idea that the guitar is a doorway out of your mind and out of your thoughts." And so she's got little pictures on the EP cover that denote each of the songs on the EP. So you can play a little game of trying to find the little pictures. And yeah, just incredibly talented lady. I'm
So
very
much meaning behind that, isn't there? It's so lovely. Yeah. And t-shirts as well. And it is actually a really perfect design for t-shirts. It's a great
yeah.
one. So yes, you have to keep them being printed even after even on your next EP. It's too good a one to not have there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great cover.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know I promised 20 minutes and we've gone over again, so I'm very sorry.
No.
But thank you very much for joining us. And when you have your next lot of music coming up, please be in touch. We'd love to have you again. And we'd love to go on this musical journey with people and see where they end up, albums down the track as well. So it's lovely to hear.
That'd be wonderful. I'll definitely be in touch. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it.
Anytime. Thank you, everybody. Now, we will be back tomorrow night. I have popped up the link for the show tomorrow night. It is a bit late because we just had to wait for artwork and getting it correct. So it's up for tomorrow night. We've got 2 more shows this week, and we've got some other things that we're recording as well. So keep your eye out and keep your eye on the TikTok page, the Instagram page, and also now the Twitter page, which I still haven't been on, and I will do tonight. I promise, Scott. I promise I will. But yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us again, and we'll see you all tomorrow night. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed today's program. See you next time with the latest with Country Kickback.